football. It's tailgating time at Calhoun's. Grab a Feed 5 or Feed 10 family pack if you're going to a high school game this week, if you're going to the UT game next weekend, or you can eat by the river before or after games, or you can even grab Calhoun's food inside Neyland Stadium. Calhoun's is everywhere. That's why it's the taste of Tennessee, Calhoun's. All right, want to welcome in the next two members of our panel. Hopefully their mics are working. Right here we have Bob Hodge, longtime sports writer down there, another longtime sports writer in this town, in the Spare community, Chuck Cavaleris, and both of these gentlemen have been on the Sports Source since 2003 when we first debuted. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Hot Read segment. I promise I'm not going to give you guys the same assignment every single week, but today we're doing the same thing we did last week. Last week the lines looked terrible. This week, you saw some improvement in a couple of areas. I will start with Bob and Will, and we'll talk about the defensive line. Let's go ahead and put up some numbers here, if we can, before they go into it. There we go. 4 sacks yesterday from the defensive linemen. That's not bad. Now you got a pass rush you hadn't seen. Rushing numbers, when you take the sacks out, he gave up 4.8 yards a carry, 26 carries, 125 yards. And again, I don't know that BYU tested them as I would have tested them. Guys, your thoughts, though, on the defensive line? Pluses outweigh the minuses, minuses outweigh the pluses. Where are you?
I'm going to go with I saw they were better, but I do not think that they were that much better. I thought the BYU line was big. They probably were pretty strong. They looked really slow. They actually looked a lot less athletic, I thought, than Georgia State's line did a week ago. Tennessee got some good play out of their linebackers, which I think covered up for the linemen a little bit. But I'm going to say I just didn't see enough improvement to make me think, yeah, you can go down there to Florida and be competitive.
Oh, Lord,
No, I thought they looked a little bit better, but it was just marginally better. And you're right. I think if BYU had said, we're going to come out and we're going to run until they stop us, I think they could have really put up some pretty big rushing.
And that's where I saw it. I thought the speed, slowness of the offensive line was why you had a better pass rush, right? This time they were able to get on the edge a lot more. Where the issue was is you saw what they did in the second overtime, pound the rock. Mm-hmm. And they went straight in the end zone. After the big, flip play reverse, then they were about 13 yards out, 2 plays, you're in the end zone. All they had to do was that part of the game. So I thought part of the defensive line looking better was the offensive coordinator of BYU.
Yeah, I was not impressed by him. And they also, some of their run is, it's slow developing runs. Even the inside hand are just.
Oh, they had a couple of pitches outside that gained yards, but I thought if I'm BYU, I'm going to have to practice this a little bit more because I'm almost pitching it to the other guy.
Well, I thought they should have tested off tackle and inside run more often, and I think they'd have seen more success.
Well, that sounds awfully negative to our viewers out there, but
well, it is what it is. I mean, here's the thing: they look better, and your linebackers. I mean, you've got some guys out there who are going to be really good linebackers at this school.
Well, and you had more effort. Those guys, they played the entire game. I will give them that. They did
Taylor
not.
Especially.
Taylor especially. They played the entire game and they played hard.
Yeah. So that's at least a step. But you're right. It's not that is, you didn't play an SEC team in BYU last night.
No.
So all right. Let's go ahead and talk to Chuck and Jimmy, and I'll ask you. Let's put up the graphics here about the offensive line. 28 dropbacks last night, only 1 sack allowed. All right, that's a little bit better. Rushing numbers minus sacks, average 5 yards a carry, 48 carries, 248 yards. It's amazing you run for 250 yards and lose. Total offense, 418 yards. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the offensive line this week? Steps forward, steps backward. Still wasn't great in short yardage. I'll throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're seeing improvement. I think that's one thing that you got to say. I had 242 yards rushing.
That's a 6-yard sack that's been factored
You feel
out.
better about the run game than you do the throw game. But still, the story of this game ended up being short yardage, didn't it? I mean, if you convert some of those, it's a different outcome, I think. But it's looking better. But when do you shorten that rotation?
You still had 8 at least last night.
Yeah. And don't forget, you only had 2 scholarship running backs play. So you feel better, but like Bob says, I don't know if you feel a whole lot better. But you're seeing signs of improvement.
Well, they were definitely better. And I know sometimes the question comes up, how do you coach around an offensive line that's not very good? I thought Tennessee did that a lot last night against Brigham Young because they got on the perimeter. They ran off tackle. They ran more sweeps. And in times what they did was they would kind of load to one side, either with a trip set or extra tight end, to give them more numbers on the perimeter to run. And that was successful. They still had trouble on the short yardage. There were a couple of 4th and 1s where they didn't make it. 3rd and short, they didn't make it. But I did see more open holes created by the offensive line and others that were blocking too. So I thought it was a step forward.
They kept going with the wide zone run. They had success with it until about the fourth quarter. And then BYU was going,
Right.
oh, your formation is here, then you're running here. Oh, your formation is there, we're running there.
You're going to run out of that.
Yeah,
I
they
thought,
talked
okay,
about that.
they've got them set up. BYU's adjusted. Now what are we going to hit them with coming out of that? And here was one of my problems with the offensive line, and maybe it's just a bad play call. The last 4th and 1 Tennessee went with, they went with that reverse.
The end around.
And end around, thank you.
Sorry.
And no, I hate people that call end arounds reverses. I appreciate the correction. Anyway, did you run that because you did not think your offensive line could get enough push to get 1 yard? So we're going to have to come at them with misdirection.
Probably.
Here's the one thing, I think nobody, short yard situation, Garantano under the center, they have an issue where he gives away his snap count. And it's when he's turning his head, as soon as he turns back to straight, he's going on it every time. And you saw the defensive line for BYU get in the backfield at the same time as the ball and knock the offensive line back. They had better get off because they timed the snap count. He's got to get out of that. He's got to turn his head, come back, and make a hard count to break that up. Otherwise, you're going to see on those 3rd and shorts, that defensive line is going to do the exact same thing against him every time.
Should have been picked up in self-scouting, you would think. You would think somebody over there would notice that. But then again, you were paid to make money, and the coaches over there, they're not getting paid. All right. They also, on the short yardage stuff, they once again they tried to use a Garantano kind of keeper there. They got it at one point, but they are not a team that can say, well, I pointed out last week that Georgia State was having success on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 because they just run the ball. And I realize that's not great shakes to get 1 or 2 yards. But Tennessee can't do it. They can't just say, give it to Chandler, we're blowing a 2-yard hole, we got this easy. They can't do that. And until they can, I don't know how good your offense can be. The line, if you can't stop the dive and you can't run the dive, how good can you really be?
We heard Pruitt say, talking about we don't have anybody that weighs 200 pounds as a running back. The best short yardage back is playing linebacker. Now, I know he had fumble problems last year. I don't know if he's had any in camp. Yeah. But I would rather see Banks take it on short
And
yardage.
if Matuli comes back, look for Banks to go back to running back.
Yeah, and the question is, you would wonder, are they just so thin there that they don't even want to risk him playing offense? But if you're not that hamstrung, I would consider you're going both ways. How many carries would you get a game? 3?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to break him, but then again, with their luck, it probably would. Okay, when we come back, Sunshine Sterling. Ooh. He's going to have another tough one today. Actually, I know his number. I know they're number 1. He and Daniel, I know they're number 1. It is correct. So we got the ups, we got the downs next. We got plenty more to talk about. Garantano next. Come on back.